When the Green Ridge fire first happened, I come over, we watched it, we were on standby. I had lots of air support, and it looked like the fire was being contained. The next day, with the winds come up, had less air support. It come over the ridge onto the property, and then it was three solid days of trying to get ahead of it before we slowed it down. It went about 3 miles.
This burned so hot there wasn't much left in there to reforest it, so we were either going to have to let it fall down, and then that creates a whole nother problem because it makes a tinderbox for fire in the future. It brings the bugs in, and the bugs, when they're done there, they move into the green trees, and it's not good for the stand. So we had to cut it, try to get enough value out of it to get trees back in the ground.
When this fire came through, instead of leaving this as standing dead snags that has, would be, a challenge for firefighters in the future, they came in and did an excellent job of cleaning up a lot of those standing dead snags, cleaned up a lot of those ground fuels.
A burn, there's a lot of difficulties. I mean, it's dirty work, it's dusty work, there's no vegetation left on the ground in a lot of spots, so it's harder on equipment, it's harder on men, it's harder on everything you do. We had a window that we had to get things moved before the pass got nasty, and the clock was ticking on the wood. You only got so much time. The smaller it is, the more likely it is to stain.
Once it stains, it's a big deduction on value.
We had to target some of the areas of smaller wood while actually getting some of the better stuff to get a good mix of it, to try to make sure that we were getting all of it and being able to get enough value out of it to clean it up. We took out somewhere around 1,000 loads in the time that we worked in here. Got in here as soon as we could in November, and then we worked until the heat run us out in July, and we had some of the bigger wood left behind, which is kind of how we targeted it because it would last longer. And we had a subcontractor, he come in and pick that stuff up. In one of the areas that we were targeting pretty heavily, it was one of the better stands that burned. There was a research site from OSU. They wanted to work with us to make sure that we left trees for them to study for the future, so we had to selective cut the area. We left some trees that were marginal that are dying now, but give them something to look at.
We're in one of the highest mule deer and elk wintering ranges in Central Oregon. With that, we see a lot of different wildlife, not including elk and deer, but as well as cougar, bear, even the occasional wolf that we've been having on the property. When they planned this logging operation, they left areas of heavier density timber. Areas that had that 15 to 30% live crown canopy were left, so that we still have those pockets where those deer and elk have that place to go hide. They do a lot of work around our wildlife in our wet springs to make sure that they're very adequate so the animals feel comfortable coming into those water sites, as well as enhancing pump chances for our firefighters.
Water sources around here are few and far between.
So our wet spring areas that we have around here are very important.
There's a club, a bird society that they really like hanging around the one that we had, so we maybe made a bigger circle around that than we would have needed to protect it.
They went well above and beyond our minimum standards for spring areas on an operation, wet areas. So with that, we saw 300 to 500 foot buffers put in some of these spring areas. We didn't see any equipment in and around those areas, as well as working with the Arboretum there to make sure that they could get in there by hand and get some of that work done that need to be completed so that our wildlife had safe areas to come in and be able to get to that water resource that they were protecting.
We added a bigger skidder to our equipment list so that we could pull bigger turns essentially, and less trips on the soil to keep compaction down.
So Wolfco as a company is very, very aware of the stuff they need to do to make sure that they're not just only following the Forest Practices Act, but going well above and beyond. They're very conscientious about the equipment they use on their operations, making sure that we're going to have minimal soil disturbance. They watch the weather closely, making sure that when they are operating, even when they can operate legally, they don't if the soils are too saturated.
Family's goal is to get a healthy forest to regrow here as fast as possible again.